welcome to this exciting video where you once again join us in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. For today's adventure, we're joined by Highlander 87. For today's adventure, we're starting this one at Fowles Hawk, here in the wild coastal lands of Scotland. And just check out this land that we're in. We're basically down here and we're about to document abandoned history that we've never seen before on the channel. And we're a little bit further north than the last episode when we were actually at Todhead Lighthouse, which is probably like 5 or 10 miles further south. Today it is raining at this moment, but I believe this will go off in like 5 or 10 minutes and it'll be a beautiful, amazing day, folks. So let's get into the action. So this is actually the Crotin area of Scotland here, folks, and we're just basically in landscapes that we've never been before, and we're about to document abandoned history of Scotland. And there is areas here where I think the puffins must live around here, judging from what I'm seeing. This is a great RSPB area. Shout out if you're in the RSPB. We love nature and wildlife on this channel, as well as the abandoned history. And I think we're about to head this track up the coast here. Look at this, folks, the spectacular landscape looking back down towards like Todhead Lighthouse. We're about to head round this piece of land here, I believe, around this coastal region. We'll see if there's any history. I think this whole area is like RSPB, because there was a sign saying like watch out for the ground nests and birds and stuff, and I saw some little cordoned off kind of areas at the bottom of the hill. Look at this for the sign of springtime, folks. We've got the 2 tractors, whether one passes here and they're doing their seeding, sowing their new seeds here for 2025. And then we've got a Fent in the foreground here, and then a John Deere in the other field. And that's obviously the farmers here, right on the edge of Scotland. We're probably like 200 feet or more above the wild North Sea right here. So check this out, folks, we're passing by this little hut here, which is in memory of George Anderson and his wife Moira, and it was provided basically for him, well, from him, sorry, yeah, in memory of him, so that people can come by the coast. I can't even speak now, what has even happened, folks? But aye, people come around the coast here basically and chill out. Here, I'm thinking the path keeps going this way. But yeah, there's this little thing in memory of the gentleman, folks. Shout out if any of the Anderson family's watching. It's like a bird watching hide. But our mission, we're basically keeping on going a little bit further up here to see what we can see. When we're on landscapes we've never been, we're always just blown away by what we see. So we're pushing on further north here, and we're keeping our eyes peeled for any history, sometimes military history or whatever. And look, this is here at the corner. I'm not sure if at one time they had some sort of beacon or a light maybe to warn of the coast. I'm not sure, it could just be anything. Maybe a sign to warn you not to go any further on this peninsula here, which is super dangerous and scary. Yeah, that little bird watching hide's just down there, and we're just pushing on further up this path, further up north towards the land of such places like Dunnottar Castle, which is a good few miles further ahead. So a second ago we looked at those metal parts sticking up, and this area is the same at this side. On this peninsula it's got those 3 pieces sticking up, so it is interesting what that's been. The metal parts sticking out the ground. I'm not going right over to this one because it's so dangerous here, folks. Look at this, folks, there's a bird watching camera down here on the edge of the cliff overlooking the birds' nests. And I think there's a bay over the far side of here that's maybe got a piece of abandoned history hidden within it. So we're just going to try and navigate into it. The cliffs are so high and dangerous. I'm obviously not recording a lot of the coastal scenes because we're quite often at the coast. Today it's about seeing an abandoned historical wonder, folks. We've had to turn around on the path, folks. This landscape here, it's just so extreme and dangerous. I can't exaggerate to you how steep it is. And we're not wanting to cut through the field because there's newly born lambs and stuff there. But the path over the years has literally fallen away, and it's not even that safe anymore to walk around. But there is more abandoned history up this direction, folks, so let's get into action for this. So we're back along as far as the village here of Fowles Hawk, where we actually started. We're parked at the village, but there's actually a cool piece of history down the side here. So let's go and take a look at that. Even though we went miles up there to navigate the coast, to look at the lands we had never seen before on the channel, we were unfortunate not to see the history. The cliff was getting too dangerous and we couldn't go through the field because of the lambs and that in there. We didn't want to upset the sheep, but at least we've got this cool bit of history to look at on this adventure, folks. So let's, I hope it's not like a private residence right here. So look at this on the side of the cliff here, folks. This is the famous waterfall of Crotin. Is it Crotin, I believe? I'm sure it is Crawton Waterfall. The tide's ripping in, it's just about at full height. But look at this incredible landscape, never seen before on the channel. So there is a historical wonder here abandoned at the corner, but we're not wanting to walk into somebody's garden, so we're just going around here to have a look, to see the lay of the land. Because there'd be nothing worse than vlogging the building and they're just sitting looking out their living room window. And wow, what a scene looking up the coast here. I should say looking south down the coast. It's crazy coming to these areas we've never been. Just look at this. The geology around Scotland is just breathtaking. A lot of it volcanic, bedrock, and there's a lot of tourists and folk come down to this area, I think, to see the waterfall. It almost looks a bit like that one on the Isle of Skye. Some days the wind blows the water straight up in the air. Yeah, it looks like there is a proper path leading around here though, so we're in luck. Wow, look at that, the way the rock is in the sea. So look at this, folks, in the field here there is some old fences, but there's actually old dike lines and old wall lines, potentially parts of an old croft, maybe some old buildings of an old fisherman's cottage. And yeah, look, there's ruins here built into the ground, almost the shape of like a lime kiln or whatever, but it could be a little fishing building. Wow, ancient years of history, and it's cool on the channel every week to keep going places we've never been and seeing these things we've never seen. And this little fishing community here we had never documented before on the channel, to see another wild piece of land like this, so cool. Even this field here's got a stone outline, and I think this has been a fair sized place. That top wall there looks like it's within the private property of that house, so we're obviously coming with respect. I'll just document this small part here as we walk past. Wow, it's the craziest of adventures, and it's always history from different time periods. Not only the history of old fisheries like this on the channel, but you know how it is, there's something around every corner in Scotland. Look at this, probably dates back to like the 17 or 1800s. It's got that cement render over it, but it's actually limestone mortar that's within the brickwork, probably dating back to the 1800s and such like times. These old fishing communities is often what shaped the coasts here in like Aberdeenshire and places like that. It's amazing to see this building with a small bit remaining. Look, it's had a wee fireplace, a wee chimney, look, going up there. Wow, folks, real history once again. What an area. And like I say, I'm not going to push up into that part because it's kind of in the folks' garden, but this gives you an idea of how close the house was to the edge of the wild sea. Oh, there's a whole cove down there. Wow, what an area. Do you think there's anything hidden down in that little cove? Do you think we should go down for a look? Look at this, folks, a piece of land we had never seen before.
You want to go down this way?
What do you think? Or will we go along the path a bit further and have a look? Look at this, folks, we're coming down to this little secluded, forgotten beach area down behind the wild lands we just explored a minute ago, and that old ruins at the top of the hill. We're coming down to take a look at these hidden bays. It's almost like a secret little beach down here, and there's these weird rock formations that lead out into the sea, almost like natural walls splitting the beach in two. And it's cool to come down to these areas that I've never been before. I just love the way like cottages or little fishing bothies that sometimes are sprinkled into the landscape. And today, because of the direction of the wind, this is a perfect bay, because now we're out of the cold wind. It's so humid down here next to the sea. Yeah, the geology around these Scottish coastline bays and beaches is unique. And there's actually massive boulders within the bedrock around here. That's why it can be super crumbly. Yeah, that whole beach is really strange big boulders. And then each beach, the boulders get smaller. Because I think the faraway bay has got tiny pebbles. Yeah, this is one of these bits of land here that juts out. Maybe at high tide the sea goes over the top of it. I'm just imagining a little house or a little hut of some sort on the faraway bay here. You know how it is on this channel, folks. It's mad the amount of history that we've found hidden in places like this, and for sure there would have been a big fishing scene around here at one time. I'm not sure what these piles of rocks here have been at the back of the beach. Maybe been little constructions or whatever. Wow, this is the North Sea, folks, at Aberdeenshire. Normally it's Angus and stuff we explore, so now we're further north. We're in new lands up here, never seen before. It's breathtaking how the sea almost looks blue today. Look at this, folks. Abandoned historical wonder alert right here. Here's a massive old piece of metal. Oh look, it's got old rivets and stuff in it. Whoa, that's a huge metal construction. Hey, that's been part of something at one time. Sometimes the old railway bridges and stuff's built with girders like that. Yeah, let's head on up. This is the point that splits the two beaches. We need to watch the rocks, there's no super slippy. Oh, I look, they've been using this as a quarry at one time, I think. Or they've had holes drilled in, maybe blasting and taking the rock from here. Sometimes these local town buildings, like we saw at the top of the hill, were actually built from the rocks that they sourced locally, and you see evidence of it with things like that. Oh, it's a beautiful scene behind me. We'll go up this natural staircase in the land, up to the higher level. This is special, folks. What a scene. Whoa. What an area, folks. Look at this. The water's pure clear. Check it out down here, folks. We've actually found a spot. There's this crazy shelf of rock down here, and it looks like a perfect heat trap because we're out of the wind and we're in the sunshine, and I think this has been the warmest it's been all day today. This is a spot down here. Whoa, look at these wee rippers coming in off the North Sea. When the tide gets a bit higher it would probably come up onto here, but I think today it's probably just about fully in. So an interesting point here in the land, folks. All the rocks here have been drilled, so they've been actually taking the rock away, maybe shaping the land for the mooring of their boats. Check it out, folks. This is what this channel is all about, finding mad wee areas like this in Scotland. When you see landscapes like this, it gives you an idea of how solid the rock is under your feet when you're in Scotland. Some of these coastal areas we walk today, further up the coast, there's no way even down to the little beaches and coves. But I think that's maybe the reason the little fishing village here of Crawford has actually sprung up in this area. There's been a big fishing scene down here at the water's edge back in the day. And that wee ruined building we looked at the top of the hill can remind us of that. We walked so far today, but because of the circumstances we had to turn back, so it was cool just to get this little area here recorded and the wee house at this end, because I was going to record it after we'd been further north. There's so many seagulls flying round in a circle in here, it's unreal. So in the last segment there, folks, Highlander was informing me I called it Crawford, but it's actually called Crotin, and I do apologise for that. That'll save me in the edit correcting it right there. I do make mistakes sometimes. If we're in these little towns and villages for the first time ever, see when the tide's out, I think this would be a beautiful piece of rocks you can actually walk over, because I can see the yellow lichen on them, and it is just a paradise scene. I've never even been to this village before, and to see the history related to it in here, it's just breathtaking. It's almost like time travelling on these adventures when we're going to each of these places. And the water's so pure clear today. Every time a wave comes in I can see the odd bit of seaweed through the water. At times this could be a super dangerous, ferocious piece of coast here. This is incredible, folks. We've come out of our little chill out area down the coast. We're now back near the village and we're out on this little peninsula of land. I just love the coast and I love exploring areas of Scotland, and the character of each bay in Scotland is just so different. You can go 100 metres or 100 miles and you'll see crazy differences. And each bay here is different, and even the smooth rock over there. Do you think we should go along this? Look at that. It's like there is a path, but I'm not sure if we should go it or no. Alright, let's free climb the cliff, Highlander says. Yes, we've done it, the safer route. Oh hi, look at that, there's like a little rock pool up here. This is like a habitat for wildlife out here. Here it is, folks. It's mad. It's like walking on some sort of cake or some sort of crazy material. The way you see the pebbles within the bedrock. And we're going right to the end of this peninsula of land right here, as far out into the middle of the North Sea as we can. Yeah, the way the pebbles are within the rock. Look at this as well, folks. The shape of the rock, the way it's worn, and then the other bedrock around it. Sometimes in these areas, volcanic rock as well, with the big pebbles trapped within it, as if there had been lava at one time flowing through pebble fields, collecting the pebbles. Yeah, probably when the tide's out, you could walk right out there. See down there, it sounded like there was a big hole or something under the rock. If you fell in there, you'd be a goner. I think the nature of these outcrops as well, one side's really steep and dangerous, and then the other side, it kind of slopes more into the water, kind of originally, as far as the geology goes. But I think if any of us fell on like either side, we'd be in trouble. Like, so from down at this corner, folks, we get an excellent view up towards the abandoned history here of Crotin, and that was what we originally came to document, the history here and the history around it. And to see the landscape, it's just magical. Hey, look how smooth it is, eh? That's what you're saying.
So, I mean, that'll be bedrock.
Yeah. Yeah, that is insane to see it. It's like different layers of bedrock.
It's like sedimentary or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's proper.
Volcanic or whatever.
Solid.
Crazy scenes, folks. We're not actually geologists, but we're always interested in the rocks and what we see under our feet. Because in Scotland, the geology is completely crazy. And that's why often if you're exploring, you just start asking the question of like what you're seeing. Not only the old buildings and the ruins, but what's under your feet when you're looking at them can be the craziest of scenes. And I love finding these little bays or little beaches. It's kind of hard to get to or hardly seen. There is obviously a few cars in the car park and people do come down here, but it's just amazing to see more coves and little coastal locations like this right on our doorstep. We're so lucky in Scotland to have paradise scenes around every corner, and it's so cool at the weekends to come out and go to a different place each weekend. That's what this channel is all about, folks. You know how it is. And shout out to all the subscribers of the channel as well. There's obviously been a big influx of them recently and stuff as well in the last year, I would say. And if you're watching this and you've not subscribed, give it a click, because we're out here all the time going to these fresh locations, documenting things that I had never seen before. It's just a madness. Now we need to navigate down this cliff. Highlander's already going down. Try not to slap. Yes, we've made it. At one time in these little bays and at these little beaches there would have been many, probably 100 or more little fishing boats harboured and moored in here at night. Because that was the main thing on the east coast of Scotland. All these little harbours and fishing communities, they had so many little boats. Everybody that lived around here would have probably been fishermen originally. Little communities like this built around the fishing and farming that went on back at those ancient times. And it's cool to remember that as we explore. So the interesting thing with the land here, folks, like that area we went out and walked out on had loads of pebbles within the stone we were walking on, but see this area here, there's absolutely no pebbles, and that shows at the different heights and layers of the bedrock. You get areas like that, it's just smooth stone, And then other madnesses where it's all that pebbly, crumbly kind of way, and it's just like a cake with the layers built up on top of each other. And that's how you get some crazy landslides and stuff in Scotland, or big bits can just break off. Anyway, this Crawton Waterfall's just over here. Look at this, we're going to have a proper look at this Crawton Waterfall here before we go. Yeah, there's like a big hole that's gone in, like a sinkhole, and it must be connected to that tunnel that goes in. That's amazing to see that. And this waterfall here is worth seeing as well, so it's cool to document it before we leave the site here. And it's a crazy wee bit of land to get there. I think it's quite a popular area for tourists and stuff to stop at. It is a bit windy today as well, but I don't think it's actually like blowing the waterfall in the air. Yeah, look at this here, there's a big cave at that side, and then the waterfall here. There's actually water on the lens, folks, I do apologise for that. Yeah, this is crazy, look at that, folks, the scene of Scotland right here. Wow, look at that. That is the waterfall here of Crotin, the thing that it's most famous for. It's such a beautiful scene. You see the rock, how it's green and everything behind the water, because it's such a damp area all the time. That's how the water runs off Scotland, when it's such a solid bed of rock like that. It just gradually wears its way through. And then that looks like a pretty big cave leading its way in. Wow, sometimes those caves can go way under the land, and then years later a bit of it can just like drop in. I do apologise for any wind in this episode, it's been so windy. But we're out all conditions. Even though we went down the coast originally looking for history and we had to turn around, it was cool to see so much up at this end of the coast and to document Crawton Waterfall. And you can just imagine what it's like to have one of these houses at the top of the cliff. And then I wonder if down here originally fishermen or whatever had come down, maybe to the water's edge. It's just extreme bedrock most places. Wow, different layers and different levels, most of which worn out by the sea. And that's what we can see, like chunks have cracked and broken, and that's because they actually are just about ready to fall down the hill. It'll be the next piece of erosion. And look at this here, folks. Yeah, I'm going to take a step back off the crack bit I was just thinking, because I just looked there and saw how underwashed and fragile it was, and I'm thinking this bit's maybe underwashed as well. But yeah, let's just take one more look at this before we go. The seagulls are loving it in this area. They must be pretty fit having to fly against the wind and go up and down to those cliffs all day. The seagulls love this area because when the pebbles fall out of the rock face, it leaves those holes in the curves and they can just sit in there and make a wee nest. And sometimes in the summer the cliffs end up being pure white with the bird droppings. So at this time of year you can see it with the natural kind of stone colour behind it. So an area like this is just paradise, folks. We're literally just standing taking it in, watching the waterfall. And Highlander's getting some footage as well. Highlander's actually got his own YouTube channel, folks, and you can check him out at Highlander87 on YouTube. He does drone flights and cool wee videos of Scotland as well. It's his own take on some of the places we go and more. So it is cool. And it's just amazing seeing things like this each week. It's like a piece of land or a piece of history, like the wee cottages at the top of here that I've never seen. Some people know so much like into the coast or whatever, but to me it's more important, like if I've never been somewhere, I just love exploring it. It just happens to be, this is right on the very edge of wild Scotland. And sometimes it's just amazing going out into places like this. Anyway, we're pretty much back up at this little village of Crotin. And it's been amazing to see what we've seen today. You know how it is, folks, amazing landscapes and abandoned history of Scotland and the cool adventures along the way. Anyway, I'm ending it here. Thanks very much for watching. Goodbye from me, goodbye from Highlander87, and we'll see you soon with the next one.